There are so many different assets that we can invest in to achieve financial freedom, which can make it extremely overwhelming. So in today's video, Ben and I are going to take you through two very clear strategies to build a multi-million-dollar property portfolio and become financially free. Now, we're going to talk about our 2 property and 3 property to financial freedom strategy. We're going to break them down into the accumulation, the consolidation, and the lifestyle phases. And we're going to explain exactly how you can replace almost $100,000 worth of passive income in the long-term future from a really clear strategy.
I don't know about you guys watching that, but man, I want to watch this after hearing all of that, man. Financial freedom, multi-million-dollar property portfolio, how we can get there over the next 15 years. I'm even excited to film, let alone watch this one.
Well, let's get straight into it. Benny, you've been fortunate enough to talk with thousands of investors over the years and help them connect the dots with different ideas and different strategies that they can implement. So why don't you take us through our famous 2 properties to financial freedom strategy first and sort of break down how that actually works, because I think a lot of people tend to overcomplicate building a multi-million-dollar portfolio and achieving financial freedom. So let's simplify this one.
I love that, man. Like, I was talking to an absolute legend client, Kyle, who just signed up recently, and he runs a big business in the disability space, huge plans, earning very good money, lots of staff. And I sat with him the other day and literally walked through the 2 houses to financial freedom strategy. And when we got to the end, he's like, it's too easy. He's like, am I just overthinking this, or is it literally that easy? And I'm like, just stop thinking, man. It's that easy. I'm like, take it to your accountant, take it to your financial advisor, get them to rip the concept apart and add their financial pieces. But getting to financial freedom is so simple.
So let's say I've just called you up, I've booked in a strategy session, and I've come to you and I've said, hey, Ben, I want to develop a multi-million-dollar property portfolio and also achieve financial freedom. Now, what's one avenue you take me down?
For sure, man. So the 2 properties strategy is so simple, and it can be done in any order that works for you with your broker. But effectively, we go out and over time buy 2 very high quality houses. And then at some point or immediately after buying them, we add granny flats. Now, effectively, we go from owning 2 houses and 2 granny flats to receiving 4 incomes. So an example of this that you can execute in Brisbane right now is buying a couple of houses for about that $550K mark each.
Yep.
That rent for about $450 a week.
Yep.
And then adding those granny flats, which unfortunately have gone up a little bit recently and now worth about $200K to build. But the beautiful thing is, depending on the suburb, they can rent out for between about $320 and $420 a week.
So the first step is to get out there, accumulate a couple of houses, build a couple of granny flats. Now, for the average person, that is probably going to take a number of years to execute that part of their strategy, which is completely normal and completely fine. But once they've finished that, once they've built their second granny flat and rented out, what should we be doing after that?
You're so right, man. Like, we've had clients that have literally bought 1 house in 6.5 years with us, and then we've had other clients that have bought 5 in 6 months. So where you're at is where you start. But once we've accumulated the properties, then we go into what I call the boring phase, consolidation, and this is where we pay off the debt. Now, simply, we pay principal and interest. We put a little bit of our extra savings that would have gone to saving for the next property or the next granny flat off the loans each week or each month. We use any tax benefits we receive from the properties and any surplus income we receive from the properties to wipe off the debt. Now, me and you have gone a tiny step further, which is what I call partner properties. And that is buying a property that you know you'll sell in 10, 15, 20 years in the future for a profit to wipe off the remaining debt of those 2 houses and 2 granny flats outright. But that last idea of that partner property isn't necessary. In fact, you know, you're going to be well on your way to paying off those properties over a 15 to 20 year period if you follow those simple other debt reduction strategies. And then apparently, I haven't been there yet, but once you get past the paying off debt phase or consolidation phase, we get to lifestyle, freedom, choices stage where you don't have to work anymore for money, so you can do whatever it is that you want to do for the rest of your life.
What I love about this strategy as well is, you know, if executed correctly and if you time the right markets correctly, you can generate some pretty substantial positive cash flow, which really helps during that consolidation phase. And I think a lot of people forget that you learn a lot about property investing from buying 2 houses and building 2 granny flats. And whilst the simple way is just to focus on that consolidation phase, the way that you mentioned, but I like buying that partner property because hopefully after executing that first step, you've increased your skills, your knowledge, your understanding. And it's kind of nice to be able to leverage off the market rather than continuing to work and sacrifice so hard during that consolidation phase. But depending on your risk profile, there's always going to be options there anyway.
That's such a good point, man, because let's say you had bought a property in Sydney and Melbourne in 2012 and sold it in 2022. You would have almost made in most inner city suburbs or beachside suburbs 100%. So had you have bought something for 700K and sold it for 1.4 mil now, obviously you'd paid some debt on that property. You're going to pay the government a shitload of tax to sell it as well, but you have this big chunk left over after that to wipe off a really big chunk of the debt. So that's one idea we have, but we also have a second idea, which I'll let you explain, and that is really this concept of if you don't like the idea of granny flats or you don't like the idea of building properties because it's a bit scary and it's a bit outside your comfort zone, cool. Instead of doing 2 houses and 2 granny flats, we simply just buy 3 houses and the result will still be a multi-million-dollar property in 15, 20 years in the likes of your Sydneys, your Melbournes, your Brisbanes, your Adelaides, your Perths even, but you don't have to go through the pain of the construction process.
Yeah, it can be quite challenging and overwhelming for a lot of people to go through that process. There's a lot of different intermediaries that you need to balance at that point in time. But with the right support, it can be quite simple and easy there. But the 3 property strategy is just for those, really busy investors that just kind of want to set and forget their properties and get to where they want to be in the future. Now, the idea throughout this particular strategy is during your accumulation phase, during your buying phase, you purchase 3 houses. Now, let's say that those houses cost roughly around $500,000 each. That's a $1.5 million property portfolio after accumulating those assets. Now, right now in the Brisbane market, if you were to buy a $500,000 home, it should rent out for roughly around $420 per week. So provide you with a decent rental income short term. Then what happens, obviously, once you've acquired those assets, same thing, you move into the consolidation or debt reduction phase, which is basically rinse and repeating exactly what you mentioned in the 2 property strategy. You take all of the positive cash flow or all of the, whatever additional cash flow you get from that portfolio and you put that back against the home loans. Rather than saving to build deposits to buy new properties, maybe you just save and try and pay $100 off each property per week, depending on your financial situation. You'll need to obviously figure out what's best for your personal situation there. And having those loans on principal and interest obviously helps as well. Now, the hard part is obviously the consolidation phase, right? This is what takes a long period of time. You need to be quite strategic and strict throughout that phase to make sure that you do own them outright. But what I love about this, even if you just switch to P&I, worst case scenario, 30 years, you should own those properties outright.
100%, man. So, whether you like the idea of the 2 houses and 2 granny flats to financial freedom strategy or the 3 houses to financial freedom strategy, it's completely up to you, your risk profile, your income, and what you want to do over time. What I have realized though is regardless of which way you go, financial freedom is the end goal, and that is about creating an income stream or an equity stream that allows you to make the choices that you really want to make in your life. And for me, spending time with family, spending time with friends, traveling, surfing, training, meditating, like doing those things that are important is what financial freedom is all about. It's not about driving the sickest cars or living in the sickest houses or having holiday houses and extravagant holidays around the world. It's about having an incredibly simple lifestyle that enables me to make choices, and not just for myself, but to spend time with my kids, to drop them at school, to go to their sports carnivals and things like that, and to give them that time that is so important at that stage of life.
100%, man. I love that so much. And, I can't wait to get to that point in life where we've got all of those choices. And I think the average person is still going to want to contribute, still going to want to give back, especially once you've done that. You know, you'll be very, very successful in comparison to, you know, the people that you spend most of your time with. But the best part about having choices is exactly that, having choices. Now, you might want to keep hustling and working hard and building that empire out. You might just want to go and work for a volunteer for a non-for-profit organisation that helps out other less fortunate people. You might want to start a non-for-profit organisation, or you might just want to go and do some, you know, really meaningful work that you're extremely passionate about. But the idea is to, you know, focus and create a strategy and execute that strategy to provide yourself and your family with more choices, more freedom to do the things that are most meaningful for you, to live a really purposeful life and give back as much as you possibly can. I just love that there is a nice, simple, easy to execute strategy, whether it is the 2-property strategy or the 3-property strategy. You know, you don't need to go out there and buy 10 houses just to achieve financial freedom. I love the idea of just working smarter, not harder, to get to that same point in the future anyway.
You know, what I love about Kyle's comment is the idea is really simple, but the execution is actually quite difficult. It is scary. A lot of our clients suffer from information overload, analysis paralysis. A lot of our clients don't have a mentor or a coach or a group of like-minded people. A lot of people struggle with the relationships or that team of advisors. They don't have the right solicitors, builders, town planners that can help them safely execute this strategy. And even more importantly, like when you start to action this stuff, all of the trauma from your entire life is going to be brought to your attention and brought out of you, and you're going to have to deal with that. And at some points, like I've felt physically sick, I've lost weight, like I've had many, many sleepless nights on the way to financial freedom, because ultimately what you're doing is saying, I don't believe in the social structure of just working to get on the pension until I'm 65 or 70. And if you're 20 or 30 or 45 now, and it's going to take you 15 years to get free, you're still getting free financially before everybody that you know, and most people, almost like 80% of people in society. And so there is a toll, and it's going to cost you a little bit of, you know, short-term sacrifices for medium-term gains. But what I love about the way that we're both doing it is because we enjoy the simple things. We're still holidaying. We're still spending time with the people we care about. We're still doing the things we want to do, because this journey, because it's so simple and it's such a small dose, you don't have to sacrifice and bust your ass and hustle like some of the people in the fire community do and sacrifice everything for 15 years, because what if it never comes, you know what I mean? You want to be living and fully present now.
I love that so much. Now, if you're sitting there thinking that you would love to learn a little bit more about this strategy, or you need some support planning for your future, then we would love to offer you a free strategy session over at our website, pumpedonproperty.com. Just follow the free strategy session links where we can discuss exactly where you're at right now and where you would like to be in the future. We can talk about some of the roadblocks that might be currently holding you back, and we can expand into more detail as to how this particular strategy links to your personal situation and goals. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it yourself, or you can become one of the very small clients that we work with each month, where we'll hold your hand and really guide you through this process. But either way, we wish you all the best of luck. We hope this video has provided you with some insights as to some different strategies that you can think about to go out there and achieve financial freedom. Thanks for watching.
Woo! That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Have a spin.
Yeah. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty. Oh, that's good. Look at that.
So nice, eh?
Oh.